Hey everyone! Just wanted to give a quick warning before the episode starts. Today we're discussing the book My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. This episode will contain spoilers and in depth discussion of the story's plot. That's all for now. Let's start the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the Curated Pages podcast.
Your place for curated reads, honest reviews, and thoughtful book talk. I'm Adria.
And I'm Haley. Let's get into it.
My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney is basically one of those twisty thriller books where everything feels off from the start. A woman named Eden comes home after a run and suddenly finds that her key to the door doesn't work. Another woman answers the door and is inside her house, and her husband is acting like that woman is his real wife. So obviously things get weird fast. As the story goes on, you realize nobody's really who they seem. It's one of those books where you keep second guessing everything and everyone the whole time. So Haley, what did you think of it?
Yeah, this was my first Alice Feeney read, and I heard she's like one of the queen of twists. And I definitely believe it after this book because, wow, there was some twists I feel like I saw coming and other twists I was like, what? So overall, I really like this one. It's not my all-time favorite thriller by any means, but it definitely kept my attention and it was an enjoyable read. What stood out the most to me was the use of multiple perspectives. I love that in a book. And I love that this was like almost every other chapter was a different character's perspective, like as the story progressed. I always love when the story lets you see different sides of what's going on. And this one, I feel like, does a good job of slowly revealing how everything connects. The pacing felt steady, and I liked how the tension built over time rather than just relying on constant twists. To me, it was more of it was fast paced, but it was kind of like a slow burn psychological story, which worked for me because it kept me curious without feeling overwhelmed. I also appreciated how the characters weren't completely straightforward. There's a lot of gray area in choices and motivation, which makes the story feel a little more realistic and still very unsettling. I gave it 4 stars. So what did you think of this book? 'Cause I know you don't normally read thrillers, so I'm very curious what your thoughts were on this.
Yeah, this one was like the first thriller that I've really ever read. I think I read some in middle school, but like it wasn't anything crazy. I really enjoyed this book. I think this is the fastest I have ever finished a book before. I read it in about 4.5 hours, which is crazy. It's like 300 pages or something and less than 5 hours. The twists in this one were so cleverly laid out, and the use of an unreliable narrator the whole time was great. Like Birdie not telling us anything about who she was, of the fact that she knew what's I don't remember his name, is like Harrison or something. Her
Harrison.
ex-husband. Yeah. Like she totally pretended she didn't know him. And that just when she revealed everything, it just I was shocked. Like, it was mind-boggling to me. I never would have guessed the ending, but once it was all laid out, it made perfect sense. The only negative thing I could think of is that some of the characters felt a bit flat. Like, not exactly flat, but not fully fleshed out, if you know what I mean. Like, for example, Carter, the police officer, felt a little basic. And it just, I don't know. He wasn't that deep of a character, in my opinion. I gave it a 4.5 star though, because it just blew me away. Despite the little thing with some of the characters, it absolutely blew me away.
I agree with that, with the characters not being quite like fully developed because it did move so quickly that it didn't leave time or room for that character development that I feel like we both like in stories. It kept a very fast pace. I felt like at times it became kind of almost like that slow burn because like it's like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? And it wasn't like the twist came like twist after twist after twist after twist, like right at the end. So it really, I feel like, kept you guessing up until that till the end. I kind of wanted to explain why I thought it was a slow burn because it was a very fast-paced book. I don't want people thinking that me saying it was a slow burn meant it was a slower paced book. This was an incredibly fast-paced book.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
All right. So we are going to move on to some discussion questions, and this is going to be in depth. So, would you recommend this book to someone who is new to thrillers, or do you think this might be better for experienced thriller readers?
So, obviously, like I said before, this was my first thriller that I read as an adult. So, I think it made the genre really easy to get into, honestly. I got a couple Riley Sager books. I've already read one of them. I think this book might have been the catalyst for me just jumping into thrillers and reading them regularly. So I definitely think this is a good starter book, and I'm super excited to see how my thriller journey goes.
I agree. I think this could be a very good intro to thriller book because it is shorter. It is so fast paced. There are so many twists that you just don't see coming. Like you said with Birdie, I did not see that coming in any way, shape, or form that she was the first ex wife. When she looked at the picture and then went back to be like, oh, she was the police officer who hit Gabby, I was just like, oh, dang. But then it kept going and it was like, no, that's her mom. And there was so many, I think I texted you and I was like, I'm literally saying, what out loud because the twists just kept coming and I was just so surprised at them. So I really think this could be a good intro for anyone who wants to dip their toes in a thriller, but doesn't want to like, commit to something that's super gory or super dark. This isn't super dark by any means. And like I said, it's a quick read and the twists are phenomenal.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was so good. What about the twist ending? What would you rate it? 1 to 10? Is it worth the hype or not?
I'll give it a 9. I think there were so many twists at the end that I don't even know if I remember all of them at this point because there was just so many like back to back. And I will say the biggest twist that it was the last one that I did not see coming in any way, shape, or form was who actually killed Eden. I did not ever think it was Carter's wife. I'm trying to blanket his wife's name,
I think it's
but
Jane.
Jane. Oh, yeah, plain Jane. I never in a million years would have thought she was the one who pushed Eden off the cliff. Never. So that was a huge twist for me that I was like, holy crap, did not see that coming. And I'm trying to think which twist it was that had me saying what out loud a bunch of times. It might have been that Birdie was actually Gabriella's mom. But yes, I think this book with the twist at the end is definitely worth the hype. What about you? How would you rate the twists? And is it worth the hype?
I'd say, I mean, I have nothing to really compare it to, so I'd also say a 9. Like, it was so good. Definitely worth the hype for me. I was so shocked with each twist the story presented. Birdie being such an unreliable narrator, like I said earlier, made each twist feel even more shocking. Like, I
That was a
trusted
big
her
one.
and she betrayed me.
That was a
When
big
she
one.
revealed, yeah, when she revealed everything to Carter, I was just staring at my book with my mouth wide open, just like, and then the reveal that Jane is actually who pushed Eden over the edge, I was just baffled. And that Birdie didn't actually really hit Gabriella. Eden pushed her down the stairs and then staged the whole thing. It was just twist after twist after twist, and I could not put the book down. Like, I tried to stop about 3/4 of the way and go to bed, and I couldn't. It was midnight and I wanted to sleep, but I just had to keep turning the pages. I couldn't put it down, and I went to bed around 1:30 because I just couldn't stop. It was so good. Which perspective did you enjoy more, and why?
So I do think I enjoyed Birdie's the most. She, I feel like, had kind of the most chapters. A lot of it I felt like was her perspective. And then, like you said, she ended up being a super unreliable narrator. And that was such a good twist for it. And the fact that she was dying, she knew when she was going to die, like all these little things that she had going for her was just, I really liked it. And then the fact that she wasn't even supposed to be the new detective and she just lied about it. And just everything about her storyline from telling it from her perspective drew me in more. When we got to like Harrison, I kind of was like, I don't really want to read his as much, but I enjoyed her perspective the most. And like you said, Carter just kind of felt flat. Like he was just kind of a basic small town cop. There wasn't much substance to him, I feel like, at all. The biggest shock I feel like for him was he had a wife that he was cheating on
Mhm.
multiple times. But yeah, I definitely preferred Birdie's chapters over everybody else's. What about you? Which perspective did you enjoy?
Yeah, I think I agree. I definitely enjoyed Birdie's perspective the most. Her character felt so weird that I was captivated by her. Like, just her behaviors, the way she was talking, the way she was dressing, the fact that she rides around on a moped instead of driving, which you find out is because she hit her own kid, so of course she's not gonna drive a car. But when you're reading it for the first time, it's just so like, what is this weirdo doing? And I just I was so fascinated by her. She's so weird, but she is so unique that it just made her so interesting to follow. I also briefly liked going into Carter's chapters, even though he was like more of a boring character. Learning that he flirted with who he thought was Eden, but it was actually Mary, and that he like has a wife that we just didn't know about, and all his behind the scenes stuff that adds more perspective to the story. Just I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, I agree. Him having his wife and then her seeing him like make out with Mary, but she thought it was Eden. And like that's the whole reason why she pushes Eden off the cliff. It's like Eden, I don't want to say Eden was innocent in the whole thing because it sounds like from the flashbacks we had with like Gabrielle, like if that's even true. Like you said, Birdie was just a really unreliable narrator. So it's like, how do we know that Gabriella and her are telling the truth that Eden pushed Gabrielle over the banister? I mean, I would think so, but like you don't really know. Like, is that for sure true? Because like if she was pushed off the balcony, this is where my mind was going. If she was pushed off the balcony and went to like this comatose state and stuff, like will she like actually really remember it? And like she's still in the mind of like an 8-year old. I don't remember stuff when I was 8. So it's like, does she truly like remember being pushed? Did she fall? I think Eden wasn't the greatest like mother figure by any means, but I don't know. That kind of had me questioning, but she didn't deserve to get pushed off a cliff by any means, but she also wasn't innocent in the grand scheme of things either.
No, that adds a whole other perspective of was that even true to it? That you're just like, oh my gosh, these people might just straight up be evil for making her think that she's going crazy and then pushing her off a cliff. I mean, they didn't. It was Jane, but still.
Mhm.
I
I mean,
mean,
but the goal was to make her think she was going crazy, and the goal was to get her to yeah, that was the end goal. So, I mean, they they succeeded, just not in the way that they wanted to. So, which twist made you immediately want to flip back and rethink some earlier chapters?
for me, it was the twist that Birdie is actually Gabriella's mom. That one just had me shocked. I stopped reading for like a minute, just stared at the wall, just like, what in the world? And I wanted to keep reading and finish the story, obviously, but I also wanted to immediately flip back and restart and rethink all of those chapters that she's in, where she's like faking everything essentially. I wanted to see if there was any clues that I might have missed, but I also was so desperate to get to the end and figure out what was going on that it was like this internal conflict. What about you?
That was my like saying what out loud. Like I'm not even joking. I said what out loud. I think the fact that you find out, yeah, Gabriella is Birdie's daughter was such a big twist that it made me go back because when Carter went to go see Gabriella and Mary came in and she was like, "Mommy," I was like, well, then why was she saying like mommy to Mary when Mary and Eden supposed to be like look alike if Birdie was her real mom this whole time? And it also like it made me think like, yeah, this makes sense because they were saying how Gabrielle had this dark hair and Eden was blonde. And I don't know if they really said Harrison's like characteristics, but it didn't make sense to me that Eden was Gabriella's mom just based on, like, the such, like, dark features that they said Gabriella had. So, like, I was like, "Okay, that makes sense that Birdie is her mom," but then it also made me like, "Well, what the heck?" I feel like that part, like, with Carter there and Mary coming in, like, didn't make sense because, like, why would she call Mary mommy? But yeah, I agree. The whole Birdie being Gabriella's mom was, like, I think one of the biggest twists for me besides Jane being the one to push Eden off the cliff.
So that is all the time we have for today for our bonus episode. Feel free to answer these questions down below. I'll leave each of them in the description. Thank you so much for listening to the first bonus episode of the Curated Pages podcast.
Until next time.
Stay lost in the pages.